Hey, what's up guys? Nullrage here, and today we're taking a look at Iron Man's level 52 review. Initially, I thought that this was just going to be something simple. You know, make the one-off purple. Done. But it seems that the devs have gone above and beyond on this one, and there are new ways that the skills interact with each other. Most everything's sort of the same, but you're going to have some intricacies that you'll see here in a minute. Alright, so let's move on over here. His synergies remain the same. They are, of course, 2% range power damage at level 25 and 2% energy damage at level 50. And I've, of course, gone ahead and pulled off all of my gear so that we can have a baseline. Alright, let's go ahead and look at energy beams first. There we go. Alright, so that's got all the skills on the bar. First thing I want to, talk about is Repulsor Blast here. The animation has changed tremendously, and the sounds as well. It's got this cool little charge up thing at the beginning, like his repulsors are coming online, powering up. It's pretty cool. The function of the skill, of course, remains the same, with it being energy damage with a fairly low rate of fire. Now, next up, we've got one of the major changes, and you're going to see this with a lot of the passives that he had before, is they've all got a passive ability, but also a toggle mechanic as well. And Arc Reactor Enhancement, in addition to giving the restore spirit per second when you are not using spirit spending powers, and increasing your damage rating by a percentage of your spirit. While toggled on, it will also gives you a huge damage rating boost, and but in turn it will increase the cost of your powers. Here's the scaling on that. You'll notice as you put points into the skill, the amount of increase in power cost goes down. The damage rating does not increase, though. Alright, let's get into Unibeam, and you'll see some interaction between Arc Reactor Enhancement and Unibeam here in just a minute. And maybe some of the other skills. I think it's just Unibeam. Unibeam's going to deal some energy damage and do 100% damage if fully charged, and if Reactor Enhancement is toggled on, Unibeam deals 100% increased damage and has a 6-second cooldown. Now, Unibeam normally, you can spam it. You can charge it up, do increased damage. But when you toggle Arc Reactor Enhancement on for that increased damage rating, Unibeam now has a 6-second cooldown. But it, of course, does 100% more damage. So that's pretty cool, providing some interaction between the passives and some of the active abilities. Let's go ahead and toggle Arc Reactor back off, just in case. I don't believe there's any other. There is some synergy here, but that one has synergy with all toggle powers. Anyway, Pulse Bolt remains the same, giving the area energy damage and a stun. Cool. Channel Repulsors also remains the same. Energy damage twice per second. Repulsor Barrage, however, is a little bit improved. It, well, improved in some ways and a little bit more tedious in other ways. The first way that we'll go over the bad stuff first, and then we'll see how amazing it is. Repulsor Barrage now requires a target. You cannot just fire anywhere. Once you've selected a target, it channels repulsor blasts at that one target. You can't move to another target or anything like that without, you know, letting off the button and reapplying. So, like I said, a little bit tedious, but the rate of fire does go up with points put in the skill still. Yes, nice. And it also has an extra component, 10% increase, or damage increase 10% per active toggle power. Now, we talked about arc reactor being a toggle power, and there's 1, 2, and 3 more. I think that's it. Yeah, so a total of 4 toggle powers that you can use, equating to a 40% damage increase, which, oh, by coincidence, just happens to be the amount of damage that you increase on boss killing things like this, like Jet Thrust Punch. Now has that 40% extra damage to elites and bosses. Well, if you have all your toggles on, Repulsor Barrage has the same amount of damage increase. So that's cool. And then, of course, they made the one-off purple. That's probably about all they did to it. It's all it really needed. Pretty amazing. Alright, defense systems. Next on the agenda. And we'll see, we've run out of buttons here, so we'll get to those here in a minute. But first, high velocity charge remains the same. Your basic dash. Voltaic punch. Damage increased by 1% for each percent of missing suit power. So I imagine if you're completely out of spirit, that's a 100% damage increase. And it is your basic skill, so you're going to be using this when you need to get power back anyway, giving you a little bit of a boost during that process. Just a basic melee attack. I do want to mention that the defensive systems, with the addition of Jet Thrust Punch and a few other things, you can play full melee build. And, you know, if that's your preference, it is fully functional. And I believe... No, I don't think Tech Gadgets has a fully functional missile build, because there's no basic missile attack. If there was a basic missile attack, then it might have a fully functional missile build. But we'll see about that in here in a minute. Next up, we've got Jet Boost Flight. Remains the same, of course. Then, like I was talking about earlier, Jet Thrust Punch is your boss killer. 40% extra damage against elites and bosses. Pretty high attack speed. And dealing physical damage. It's got a really nice combo animation thing going on too. Let's have a look. Let's turn adaptive armor off first. That combo is really cool looking in my opinion. It's got a... It doesn't quite move to the target though. Let's see, some abilities like this, if you put them on left click, then you'll move to the target to hit them. Yeah. Okay, so if you put it on left click, you'll move to your target. No problems. If you've got it on a side key, you won't move to your or a main hotkey, you won't move to your target. You'll have to actually move in to attack. I know Nightcrawler's Brimstone Beatdown is a lot like this. You have to move into the target yourself to be able to use it. His acts like Repulsor Barrage though and says, I need a target for that. Anywho, adaptive armor is sort of the same as it used to be, I suppose. I mean, it gives you the defense. It used to... You know what? I don't even remember what it used to do. Anywho, it's going to give you defense, it's going to give you damage rating to melee powers, and while toggled on, it's going to be mana shield. damage you take will be taken by your suit's power instead, or 25% of the damage taken is taken by your suit instead. And there you can see the scaling on the costs there. Suit power cost 1 suit power for each 47 damage absorbed, and it would be 1 suit power for each 7 damage absorbed. The more points you put into it, the more effective that drain is, and the less spirit you're spending to reduce damage. So that's cool. Jet Assisted Slam is another ability that works with one of his toggles. It's going to do physical damage and a weakening effect in an area. It's got a pretty high attack speed, or for an AoE ability, for what it is. And if adaptive armor is toggled on, Jet Assisted Slam deals 100% damage and has a 4-second cooldown. So normally, you can use it all day. Huge AoE damage. But if you toggle on adaptive armor, then it, first off, it does 25%, 100% increased damage, but has a 4-second cooldown. So it all depends on how you want to use it, as to whether or not you'll, toggle adaptive armor off before you start using it, or if you'll turn the power on and use it with a 4-second cooldown. Remember, adaptive armor does increase the damage of all your melee powers, so you probably want to be using it with that toggled on. Then of course we've got Reactor Overload, or Arc Reactor Overload, and Death from Above. 2 of my favorite skills from before, and this one pretty much remains the same. Energy damage, Restore Spirit, Crowd Control, cooldown of 15 seconds. Simple as that. Let's use up some spirit here. So you can see that even when you're low on spirit, this move brings it back pretty quick. And of course that is 40% of your maximum spirit. So the more spirit gear you put on, the better this works. Not to mention the more spirit you have over here, the more damage rating you've got. Spirit is king on Iron Man. Alright, then of course Death from Above, 8-second cooldown, no interaction with any of the other powers, knockdown duration. Very cool. Alright, now we move on to tech gadgets. And yeah, that goes there. Good. Now, first up, we've got micro missiles, which pretty much remains the same. Firing 12 projectiles, very low cooldown, can be used while moving. Very cool. Now we move on to Missile Control System, which before was a little bit of, it was a minimap sight, crit rating, and a passive chance to fire missiles, or fire a missile. It was a chance to fire a single missile. Now it's changed, and when toggled on, you have the automatically fire a barrage of 5 micro missiles when you use a power at the cost of 50 suit power per barrage. 5-second cooldown on that. So you're going to spend 50 spirit each time this thing procs. It's probably going to proc almost every 5 seconds if you're using your skills the way they're supposed to be used. That's a pretty high spirit cost for a proc effect, but the damage, is 5 times as high because you're shooting 5 missiles instead of 1, and it's pretty cool. It also has interactions with Wrist Rocket, which we'll talk about here in a second. First off, let's proc this thing. I'm just going to run up and punch this dude. So I'm doing my punches. Every so often, the rockets proc. And they can proc with any of the skills. Any power, not just missile powers. So that's pretty cool. Wrist Rocket now deals physical damage, but also has a burn effect on it. It does count as burning, even though it's dealing a physical damage dot. And if Missile Control System is toggled on, wrist rockets deal 25% more damage and has a 4-second cooldown. Now, why is wrist rocket 25% when all of the other ones have been 100%? See, Unibeam here, 100% extra damage. Jet Assisted Slam, 100% extra damage, 4-second cooldown. Wrist rocket, 25% extra damage, 4-second cooldown. Inconsistent. I don't know if that's intended or if it's a tooltip error or a bug that will be worked out. No clue. Of course, this is all test center stuff, so things are likely to change. Anywho, let's have a look at wrist rocket. Of course, if you do not have missile control system on, then you can use it as just a, spirit spending damage alternative to a basic, I guess. I don't know. But if you turn missile control system on, then you're going to have 25% increased damage and a 4-second increased cooldown. Of course, missile control system also procs. Now, it doesn't quite line up with the cooldown on missile control system either. It might be more advantageous to have a 5-second cooldown here, so it lined up with the cooldown on missile control system. Or just wait an extra second. Anywho, we'll move on to life support system. Let me turn that off. Life support system is going to cause you to regenerate HP, and if you get downed, you'll regenerate 100% of your maximum HP with a cooldown of 5 minutes on that effect, and also deal energy damage when you pop back up, and gain invulnerability for 4 seconds. When toggled on, you will apply Constitution to yourself and allies. It also reduces your maximum suit power. There you can see the scaling on that. We've got, it looks like the health, the amount of passive health regenerated goes up. The damage when you pop back up goes up. And the maximum suit power reduction goes down, as well as the cooldown. Notice the cooldown goes down as well on the revive effect. Now there are some interactions between a life support system and I think Coolant Blast down here has been moved into Tech Gadgets. It used to be over here in Defensive Systems, and it's over here in Tech Gadgets. But before we get to Coolant Blast, we got to talk about Missile Salvo. Dealing physical damage per missile. I think it fires, how many missiles does it say? A barrage of 6 missiles. So it's actually 6 times that missile damage you're seeing there. And the damage is increased by 25% against burning enemies. So here it is normally. It's got a fairly low attack speed, and it doesn't guarantee hitting the first target. Sometimes the missiles go off and go wherever they go. Looks like they are homing in some nature. Yeah, they will, if fired just blindly, they will find their targets. So that's cool. Heat-seeking missiles. And the damage increased by 25% against burning targets. This synergizes with Wrist Rocket here. Apply the burn, and then shoot the missiles. Apply the burn, shoot the missiles. Right. Okay, so now I said we talk about Coolant Blast and its interaction with life support system, so let's go ahead and do that. Energy damage, slow anybody that gets hit, their attack and move speeds, freeze duration of 1.5 seconds, attack speed of 1.3, suit power cost. Now, no, the cost does not reduce with points put in the skill. I guess all of them have had power costs. Some of them have power costs listed. Yeah, okay. They've all got power costs listed. Wow. How did I not notice that? Anywho, life support system is toggled on. Coolant Blast deals 100% damage. Again, 100%, not 25%. And has a 6-second cooldown. I really think Wrist Rocket is missing 75% increased damage or something. So let's go have a look at Coolant Blast. If you use it without the life support systems toggled on, it of course has no cooldown. It does very little damage. But if you turn on life support systems, then it's got a 6-second cooldown and deals 100% increased damage. And if you spam it too quick, you break the animation. Wonderful. Alright, there it goes. Alright. Now, last in the tree, we've got Jericho Bombardment, and I believe it's the only skill with any vulnerability tied to it. So, you'll pretty much any build will be using this just for the vulnerability application. You're going to deal some damage over time. You're raining a burning destruction upon your enemies. Watch that burning tag. Anything inside of this area will be considered a burning target. Therefore, getting damage increases against burning targets like Missile Salvo and some of the other, there's some artifacts that work with that. You're also going to apply vulnerability for 4 seconds. It's got an area duration of 6 seconds. It's a little bit odd to me that the vulnerability ends before the missiles do. Cooldown of 3 seconds. Alright, so before we, say goodbye, I want to line up all of these passive toggles that you've got here. Nope. And then Repulsor Barrage here. So we've got, with Iron Man's new review, he's going to be based mostly around these toggle effects. Arc Reactor Enhancement, Adaptive Armor, Missile Control System, and Life Support Systems. And each of those toggle/passive abilities will interact with various skills throughout his skill tree, as well as all of them interacting together with Repulsor Barrage to increase its damage by 40%. All in all, pretty cool, in my opinion. Although the spirit goes away very quickly. Oh, one thing to note that you can't even... No, you can continue to basic. Never mind. That wasn't a basic ability there. But even using basic powers, you will use up spirit if you have not adaptive armor, missile control system turned on. You will use that 50% or 50 spirit, not 50%, goodness. 50 spirit every so often to fire those missiles, even with a basic attack. Wow, that just chunks his spirit. That missile control system. at the cost of 75% suit spirit. Why'd it go up? It's supposed to be 50. I swear I read 50 earlier. Maybe it's 75% or 75 suit power, not percent. I keep doing that. Anywho, let's go ahead and blow it up with the house party. And we'll go ahead and end with that, and I'll see you guys later. Until next time, take it easy. Have a good one. Peace.